The Tham Luang Cave Rescue, 2018. In June 2018, the skies over northern Thailand darkened with early monsoon rains. In the hills of Chiang Rai, 12 young soccer players, the wild boars, and their coach biked to a place they loved, the Tham Luang Nang Nong Cave. It was supposed to be a quick adventure before heading home. They didn't know the mountain was about to swallow them whole. When they failed to return that night, worried parents called for help. Rescue teams arrived to find the cave entrance flooded and rising fast. The monsoon had filled the tunnels with muddy water, cutting off every exit. Days turned into nights as divers battled darkness, cold currents, and zero visibility, searching mile after mile of twisting passages. Hope began to fade until the 10th day. British divers John Valanthan and Rick Stanton surfaced in a hidden chamber, and their lights caught something unbelievable: 12 thin faces and one coach, alive. The boys had survived on water dripping from the walls, conserving their energy, waiting for a miracle. That discovery electrified the world, but the hardest part was still to come, bringing them out. The tunnels were narrow, flooded, and over for kilometers long. Even expert divers barely made it through. So rescuers planned the impossible. Each boy would wear a full-face mask, guided one by one through the flooded maze by 2 divers each. Hundreds of volunteers, engineers, and medics joined from over 20 countries, a global effort united by courage. Over 3 tense days, divers carried the boys out one at a time through the pitch-black water. Tragically, one Thai Navy SEAL, Samon Kunin, lost his life delivering air tanks, a hero who made the rescue possible. When the final boy emerged, cheers echoed across the world. 13 lives saved, one hero remembered, and a lesson written in stone that teamwork, hope, and sacrifice can overcome even the deepest darkness. Real well cave tragedy. Real well cave tragedy. In March 1997, 2 friends, Andrew and Attila, planned a caving expedition to explore Real Well, a cave in Tennessee with a notorious 160 feet entrance pit. As the day of their adventure arrived, the weather was overcast with light rain, and they approached the cave entrance. The sound of the waterfall cascading into the pit was louder than expected. Though they had wet suits in the car, neither thought they'd need them in the cold weather, a decision they would regret later. Despite the intensity of the waterfall, they proceeded, underestimating how cold it would feel and how quickly it would sap their strength. The ropes were rigged in the waterfall's path, and Attila forgot to bring his helmet, a detail he didn't think about in his excitement. Andrew rappelled down first, feeling the sting of the cold water as he descended. By the time he reached the bottom, he was already shivering. Attila followed, but the water made the rope slippery and his ascent was slow and exhausting. 30 minutes into their exploration, Attila began feeling the effects of the cold, his body shaking uncontrollably. He told Andrew he could not stay any longer and needed to leave. Attila hurriedly rigged his climbing system using a commercial seat harness, a handy chest harness, and a ascender. The cow's tail was too long, and the shunt, which was meant to act as a backup safety device, only caused more trouble. When he was halfway up, the chain of carabiners connecting his ascender to his harness came undone, leaving him dangling by the cow's tail. When he shouted that he could not continue, Andrew realized the danger and climbed up toward him, determined to rescue his friend. Andrew knew that only a pick-off maneuver, in which he would attach Attila to his own harness and descend together, could save him. Despite his training, Andrew's fingers were numb, and the freezing conditions made it nearly impossible to complete the maneuver. Desperate, Andrew managed to swing over to a ledge and unclip from the rope. Exhausted, he collapsed, shivering, and passed out. Once outside, he collapsed and called for help. Rescue teams arrived and found Attila's body still suspended in the waterfall. In the aftermath, Andrew reflected on the mistakes they had made, the unsecured carabiners, the rushed decisions, and the lack of proper safety measures. Klausen Creek Cave Tragedy. On the cold afternoon of November 28, 1985, 7 cavers entered Klausen Creek Cave in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. Heavy rainfall had caused severe flooding, forcing them to abandon their original plan to explore Friar's Hole. Just 50 feet in, they encountered a massive 5'8" boulder partially blocking the passage. 3 cavers passed safely. Eric Casey, a 26-year-old experienced caver, led the next group. He chose the left-hand route, stepping carefully through the stream. Just as he reached the center of the boulder, disaster struck. The massive rock shifted, pinning Eric against the cave wall. The cavers tried to stop it, but their efforts were futile. A small trickle of blood ran from his left nostril and his pulse faded. At 4:20 p.m., nearly an hour later, rescuers arrived with a hydraulic jack. His friends dragged him to a dry spot and immediately started CPR. Paramedics arrived and took over, working tirelessly for over an hour. At 5:25 p.m., Eric was carried out on a stretcher and rushed to the hospital. Eric Casey was pronounced dead, his life stolen by a tragic accident none of his friends could have foreseen. Alf Pit Tragedy. On September 5, 2013, Brett Smith and his friends set out for a hunting trip in the remote backwoods of New Mexico. Then they spotted it, a jagged pit nearly camouflaged by the rugged terrain. He tied their nylon rope, a thin multi-purpose cord not designed for climbing, to a tree and began his descent. Then his foot slipped, loose rocks tumbled below, their echoes deep and chilling. As he lowered himself, the walls closed in. He braced his feet against the rock, maneuvering awkwardly to avoid scraping against the jagged surface. He shouted to his friend that he was coming back up, but his voice sounded weak. Desperate, he tied the rope to their ATV, hoping to pull Brett up. Snap! The rope gave way. When they reached the bottom, they found Brett motionless, his body wedged between jagged rocks. Rescuers worked to lift his body, carefully navigating the fragile crevice. Hours later, they emerged. Alf Pit stood silent once more, an empty scar in the earth, a reminder of recklessness and tragedy. John Jones, Nutty Putty Cave, Utah 2009. In November of 2009, a young medical student named John Edward Jones entered a narrow cave system in Utah. Searching not for danger, but for adventure. He'd explored caves since childhood, tight spaces, hidden chambers, the quiet beneath the earth. But this time, the earth would not let him go. The Nutty Putty Cave, a labyrinth of twisting tunnels and crawling passages, was a popular spot among cavers, known for its tight squeezes and narrow corridors. That night, John entered the cave with his brother Josh and a group of friends. Their goal, to explore a section called the Birth Canal, one of the most constricted passages in the system. But in the pitch darkness, John took a wrong turn. He found what he thought was the narrow tunnel leading to the Birth Canal. It wasn't. He crawled deeper and deeper, chest pressed to stone, arms at his sides until he could move no further. He tried to back out, but he couldn't. John Jones was trapped upside down, 400 feet from the entrance, in a space barely wider than his shoulders, just 10 inches high and 18 inches across. For over 27 hours, rescuers worked tirelessly to reach him. They set up a complex pulley system, drilling anchors into the rock to pull him free. He remained calm, praying, talking to his wife over the radio, and trying to stay hopeful. But the position was unforgiving, blood rushed to his head, his body slowly failing under the weight of gravity and time. When one of the anchors failed, the rescue line snapped, enduring hours of progress. By the evening of November 25, 2009, John's pulse began to fade. Rescuers could no longer reach him safely. In the early hours of the next morning, John Jones was pronounced dead, 26 years old. The Nutty Putty cave was sealed forever, his body entombed within the stone he loved to explore. Today, it remains a memorial, a silent reminder of how quickly adventure can turn to tragedy. John Jones's story is not one of recklessness, but of courage, love, and the human desire to keep exploring no matter the risk. May he rest in peace, deep within the heart of the mountain,